Hi everyone, my name is Allison Sprecher and I am here with Comms 622, Dr. Schwartz class, to talk to you about chapter 19 from our textbook, which is all about organizational design. Now if you're like me, you're probably wondering what organizational design is, and it's not exactly what you probably think it is. It definitely wasn't what I was thinking. But organizational design is how a company finds a way in order to survive in an ever-changing environment by the way they connect with alliances with other companies. You see this a lot with a lot of smaller companies or larger ones as well, just trying a way to be creative in the way that they make ends meet. These alliances become temporary arrangements that allow them to share the benefits of larger target markets and reduced costs. So there's a lot of benefits to these alliances, from being able to save companies and organizationals money, different resources through sharing resources, and really reaching a larger target market. And I think that's a huge benefit for most organizations. They do remain independent from each other, and many companies are constantly reorganizing to try to increase their performance, productivity, and response times. Or like I said earlier, some of them are really just looking to survive and keep their company afloat. The primary issue is how to determine which organizational form is right for a given organization, and what position the organization is desiring for the future. And so we're going to discuss a little bit about what that looks like in the next few minutes that I have with you guys. The main example that the book seemed to use would be airlines and Orbitz. I don't know if you've ever purchased a ticket through Orbitz. I personally have. Well, you go through Orbitz, which is its own company, and they then help you do this service by finding different airlines with different competitive prices, and each of those airlines has an alliance with Orbitz. And so I thought that was a really neat example and extremely pertinent. Another example that I had thought about personally was Fandango. My family, we love Fandango. We use it very often, and Fandango has really good alliances with different movie theaters. And I thought what was very interesting is no matter where we are looking for a movie, whether we're visiting with family in Illinois or a home in North Carolina or whatever that looks like, we are always using Fandango. We're always using it, and sometimes that's where we purchase our tickets through as well, especially if we're going to go see something, midnight showing or whatever that looks like. And so that was another prime example that I could think of that I personally utilize on a regular basis in my life. And so there are two main types of alliances that the book really honed in on. There's definitely more than that, but there's two that the book mainly honed in on, and those are what I wanted to discuss with you during this presentation. And the first one is the universal approach. And that's one whose prescriptions or propositions are designed to work in any situation. Thus, a universal design prescribes the one best way to structure the jobs, authority, and reporting relationships of the organization, regardless of the factors as the organization's external environment, the industry, and the types of work to be done. So that's the universal approach. And then the contingency approach, on the other hand, suggests that an organizational efficiency and effectiveness can be achieved in several different ways. In a contingency design, specific conditions such as the environment, technology, and organization's work face determine the structure. And so the main difference with these two is I think the universal approach is a little bit more rigid and strict in the way that it wants to achieve its goals, where the contingency approach is a little bit more relaxed and gives you several ways that you can go about being successful in the endeavors of whatever the organizations are looking for. And so those are the two different main approaches and types of alliances. Next is just some different types of components when it comes to organizational design. And those are strategy, structural imperatives, and strategic choice. So strategy is something we all understand being in this specific major, but a strategy is a set of plans and actions necessary to achieve organizational goals. Structural imperatives are the size, the technology, and the environment of the different organizations. And so those are important factors to consider is the size of the organization, the technology that they want to utilize in order to be successful, and then the environment that they are in, that they strive in, that they work hard in, or that they are looking for in the future. And the last one is strategic choices. So this is just strategically choosing the previous components that we talked about. So being strategic about size, technology, and environment, and being strategic about your strategy. So those are those specific components. Next is we are going to talk about different characteristics that different organizations may have. Mintzberg actually came up with 5 different essentially structures that different organizations or companies can fall into. And we're just going to discuss what those look like and maybe give some examples of what type of a company may fall into these specific structures. So the first one is the simple structure. And this characterizes relatively small, usually young organizations in a simple dynamic environment. The organization has little specialization and formalization, and its overall structure is organic. And so when I see this, it reminds me of friends of mine who have started up an advertising agency. They have a small company, they're young, it's simple dynamic environment, and the organization has little specialization and formalization. Its overall structure is organic. And that doesn't mean that whoever falls into this category can't develop into something else, but right now that is where they're at. The second one is the machine bureaucracy. It is a typical large, well-established company in simple, stable environments. Work is highly specialized and formalized, and decision-making is usually concentrated at the top. Now, when I saw this one, I immediately thought back to the 7 years that I worked as a teenager at the YMCA. It is a large, well-established company, but it is a stable environment to work in, and the work there is very specialized, and the vision is specialized, and the decision-making definitely comes from the top. The next is the professional bureaucracy. The professional bureaucracy relies on standardization of skills as the primary means of coordination. There is much horizontal specialization by professional areas of expertise, but little formalization. And then the fourth is the divisionalized form. And this is characteristics of old, very large firms operating in a relatively simple, stable environment with several diverse markets. It resembles the machine bureaucracy, except that it is divided according to various markets it serves. So when I think of this, I think about the types of companies that have their hands in several different types of markets. So clothing, food, whatever that looks like, and they have many things that they focus on, so it's not just one thing. And that's why it's kind of close to the machine bureaucracy, but it has more specializations. The last one is the adhocracy. And this is typically found in young organizations engaged in highly technical fields in which the environment is complex and dynamic. Decision-making is spread throughout the organization, and the power is in the hands of the experts. When I think of this, I think of a company called Red Hat, which is specializes in computer technology. And so this is engaged in highly technical field, which the environment is complex and dynamic. Not just anyone can be a part of this specific company, and the decision-making is made throughout the organization, but specifically with the people who are the experts. And so those were the 5 examples of Mintzberg's designs, and I have a question for you guys, and I'm just curious if you guys have ever heard of or if you can think of a specific company that has alliances with other companies. Maybe an example like the one I gave you of Fandango, maybe one that you utilize on a daily basis or on a regular basis. I'm just curious to hear what your examples are. But I hope you're able to benefit through this presentation. I thank you guys for listening. I've really enjoyed listening to yours, and I hope you were able to get something from mine. Thank you all.